Due to the hazards associated with hot applied waterproofing work, it is required to establish restricted access zones. Access to these areas is limited only to authorized personnel. Anyone entering these zones must be oriented to the potential hazards. The equipment will be mobilized within one of these zones. If the location where material is being applied is separate from the melter mobilization area, establishment of a restricted access zone around the application area will also be necessary. For the melter, choose a location away from the building's windows, air intakes, and exit doors. The machine should be positioned far enough away from any features that would create a confined space. It must be set up with enough unobstructed space on all sides for the melter operator to perform his or her tasks. Additionally, the area must be level and free from trip hazards. The melter will be positioned in the middle of a triangular-shaped restricted access zone. The corners of the triangle should be a minimum of 10 feet from the machine. Once the machine has been wheeled into place, position chocks under the wheels to prevent movement. If necessary, use plywood to protect the area underneath. Around the melter, set barricade cones in place. Position one side of the triangle on the side of the melter with the material tap valve. As described previously, place each cone a minimum of 10 feet from the melter. Then thread danger tape from cone to cone to define the restricted access zone. A barricade tag is used to communicate information about the work which will be performed within the zone. Information on the tag includes the name of the responsible individual and their phone number, the reason for the barricade, potential health and safety hazards, and additional PPE requirements. After placing the tag inside of a weatherproof sleeve, affix it to the tape. Additionally, place authorized personnel only and no smoking signs at the perimeter of the restricted access zone. The next important safety requirement for the area around the melter pertains to fire extinguishers. The type required in this area is 20-pound Class ABC. 3 extinguishers of this type and size are required at the perimeter of the melter area. Place one at the base of each of the 3 barricade cones. One additional 20-pound Class ABC extinguisher must be placed in the area where the material is being installed. This extinguisher must be positioned within 15 feet of any area where a torch is being used. Remember that all fire extinguishers must be inspected and serviced annually by an authorized equipment vendor. Each extinguisher must have a current inspection tag. Place a gang box near the mobilization area. This will be used to store and secure the extinguishers. They must be stowed and locked up at the end of each workday. Note that safety fuel cans are allowed inside the restricted access zone, but they must be stored away from the melter and propane tanks. As stated previously, if the material will be applied in a separate area from the melter location, marking off a restricted access zone around the application area will be necessary. The boundaries of this zone will have to encompass the routes along which the pails of hot material are carried from the melter to the work area. As done around the melter, place barricade cones and surround the area with danger tape. Then fasten barricade tags, authorized personnel, and no smoking signs at the perimeter. Some projects require a hot work permit. In these cases, coordinate with your supervisor to ensure it is filled out properly. Be sure to read all the requirements listed on the permit. In many cases, it will dictate special job site specific requirements. An example is that on some projects, a person is required to be designated as a fire watch. This person is assigned the responsibility of monitoring the area affected by the hot work permit during and after the performance of the work each day. Include emergency response telephone numbers on the permit. Additionally, include both the general contractor's and Alpha's superintendent's mobile numbers. After the permit has been issued and executed by all required parties, place it into a protective sleeve and affix it in a prominent location. With regard to material placement, position the stock of asphalt material just outside of the restricted access zone so it is readily accessible to the melter operator. Do not place the material inside the zone or directly next to the melter. Personal protective equipment is extremely important for all members of a hot applied waterproofing crew. Melted asphalt material has the potential to cause very severe burns. Any person entering an area where hot applied waterproofing work is being performed must be fully trained and 100% compliant with the PPE rules. The requirements vary according to the task that each person is responsible for during the performance of the work. There are several rules, however, that apply to all members of the crew. Aside from the basic PPE such as hard hats, safety glasses, and work boots, which are required on all projects, when performing hot applied waterproofing work, all workers must wear 100% cotton long-sleeve shirts. Clothing made with synthetic materials such as polyester or nylon is unacceptable. Safety vests, which are commonly made from synthetic materials, are not worn by any members of a hot applied waterproofing crew. All workers must wear long pants which extend over the top of work boots. No cuffs are allowed in the bottom of pant legs. Additional PPE is required for the melter operator due to the nature of this person's tasks. Among other duties, this crew member is responsible for adding cakes of material into the melter. They must be fully protected from accidental splashing of the melted asphalt from inside the machine. For this reason, they must wear a leather apron, arm protection, insulated leather gloves, safety glasses, and a hard hat with a full face shield. Workers whose duties include carrying or pouring of the asphalt must wear arm protection and insulated leather gloves. Persons installing the hot material must wear Kevlar sleeves and leather gloves. Full compliance 100% of the time is expected and required. All protrusions from the concrete, such as form fins and offset surfaces, must be ground flat to allow for proper installation of the waterproofing. Activities such as sandblasting, chipping, cutting, grinding, or drilling of concrete create respirable crystalline silica. Respirable crystalline silica is fine particles of silica that can be inhaled. During these activities, measures should be taken to control the dust, including vacuum dust collection systems, water sprays, and ventilation. Respirators are required if the dust control measures are not sufficient. Open the lid from the back of the melter. This is a safety precaution which is necessary to protect the operator. The purpose is to prevent injury from flare-up, which may occur due to the sudden rush of incoming air. The next step is to carefully place the cake into the melted material. Avoid dropping the mass and splashing the hot asphalt. Firmly grip one side of the cake. Place the other side into the melted material and slowly lower it in. It is absolutely critical that the melter operator wears the correct PPE to prevent burn injuries. There are two instances when the agitator has to be temporarily disengaged or turned off. As mentioned already, it should be stopped when adding a cake to the hopper. Secondly, on units which have a gasoline engine-driven mechanism, turn off the engine when refueling. When the material in the melter reaches the application temperature range, it can be dispensed into hot asphalt pails. The pails are purpose-made for hot material. The sheet steel, the handle, and the handle brackets are all heavy-duty. No other type of pail should be used to carry melted hot applied material. Fill pails only 3/4 full at the most. Pails which are overfilled will be too difficult to carry and pour safely. During the workday, when fuel tanks need to be filled, turn burners completely off. This is required while adding fuel to a gasoline agitator engine. Additionally, on diesel-fired melters, the burner unit must be turned off when adding diesel to the machine's reservoir. To further reduce the risk of fire or explosions, keep the area inside the restricted access zone clean. Always store flammable or combustible items away from the melter.